Hello class, and welcome to another video description of an assignment. I've given you the zip file which contains two of these templates here, both your alignment template and your hierarchy template. And let's go ahead and begin. So I'll start with the alignment template. What this one is you're going to be working on text alignment with just this paragraph here, not the one below. These are your instructions and some visual examples that you can find in the textbook for inspiration. But basically you're going to be working on this, so I'm going to be looking for 5 different solutions. And in this case we're going to be printing out 5 different artboards and then saving them as a single PDF all in one. So let's go ahead and begin by learning to create a new artboard. Over here in the tool palette there is your artboards area, and what you can simply do is click new artboard. If you can't find it, then you can go to window and artboards to bring it up. And so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to double click on the name, and because this is this one, I'm going to call this one title, and then I'll call my bottom one solution 1. And then I will go ahead and take this text. I'm going to copy. I'm going to use my space bar here to just scrub over, and then I'm going to paste this text into here, and now I can begin work on this. Now what I want you to do is read this paragraph, and now you can manipulate the text kind of however you want. Be creative with it. So some of the things that we can work on are multiple boxes, for instance. Like if I wanted to say compress it into here, you notice how this thing turns red and this is extra text, and then I can make an extra text box, let's say, and then I'll delete what's in that text box obviously, and then I'll go ahead and take this guy here, this extra text there, and link it to the new text box, for instance. And then I can, let's say, do that again. Okay, so I've taken it. What happens is I click once with here, it gives me this little symbol. I could have put it on that new form, and then I'll put it down here. There's all sorts of different things you can do, and you can see that this continues the text. Oops, I didn't quite want that. So on this one, maybe I'll go really long. And there's possibly one solution. Within the text in this assignment too, you can even start to manipulate different things if you wanted to. So for instance, I like this word space right here. So I'm going to give the word space lots of space. Let's just say I do that. Oops, what happened? Okay, there we go. So I'm giving it some space in the middle, and that's what and then I'm going to bold it. So I'll take my character and go over to type and do a bold or something else like that. So I'll hit my Command T to bring the character up, and I'll change it to a bold, and that's good. Alright, so there's possibly one solution if you want to work with this, or you could, if you didn't want this down here, I could make these a little larger, which would bring in all the text. And maybe I want them all to align instead of having this blank one here. So in that case, maybe I'll just move this one back up to there, and just have maybe the middle one down. So there's a lot of different options. Oh, this might be kind of cool to have them go 3 ways. So I have that one large. This one's going to be really large, right? This one's going to be medium, and then that one's going to be small, and they all kind of stair step up. So there's a couple different things you can do with this, however you want to do it. I'm going to go ahead and copy this over to show you some other examples that you can use. So now I'll make my next artboard. This will be solution 2. Right? Good, good. And I'll paste it into there. And in this case now, what I'll start to play around with is the alignment. So up here in paragraph, and if you bring your type window down, you can bring in paragraph, and you have all these cool little options with the paragraph. In this case, I'll do a justify, so everything's a square, or it's a square like so. I'm going to go ahead and delete out that text box. Notice it moves down here. The cool thing about text boxes, when you have them connected and you delete one, it doesn't delete the text, it kind of deletes the order. So I'm only going to leave 2 here, right? And I'm going to make these squares, so I'll make this one large, possibly. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of that extra space in there now and go back to something like that. In space, oops, and then there we go. All right, now I have it what's called justified, and of course there's all these different ones. There's centered, there's a line right, there's a justify with the center, justify with a line right, and justify everything, which brings this one in. I think if you do justify, you probably want to choose either justify line left or line right most of the time. But what this will do now is you can kind of play with where the text sits next to one another, especially in columns. This is one thing that we use, right? And it makes the shape of the text square instead of raggedy, which is kind of neat for some applications that we have. But let's see. So what I can also play around with is my leading and kerning, just like I had been doing. So let's say I wanted to really space that out. I got it to 22 points. Let's say on this one I want to go to, I'll do the same thing. I'll go to 22 points to make them the same, right? And then I can even take these and kind of put them like such. And then as you can see, what happened is the text ran out of space again. So I'll have to bring this back down. And this is a cool solution, kind of like this. So, and then maybe I could put that space right in the middle. You know, I could put a big word or something else. Anyways, so how you start to organize this and play around with different text boxes and the alignment and the way you treat this text is totally up to you. Again, I'm looking for 5 very different solutions. You can play with kerning, you can play with leading, you can play with different size text boxes, as many as you want that connect the text. You can skip the text, you can kind of almost be as wacky as you want with it, but I still somewhat want it read. So you're basically playing around with the paragraph shapes. So let's go into one of the last kind of interesting options you can deal with. I'll go ahead and select these again. I'm going to copy and I'm going to make another new artboard. Oops. And we'll call this one Solution 3. Another option you have with text is you can make shapes and have the text work with the shapes. So I'm going to go ahead and drop this in. I'm going to go in and delete the text boxes now to just give myself this one's still here, and I'll show you what I mean by the using silly thing by using a shape. So if let's say I drew in a circle, right, and it looks like such, I can then turn this into something with typography. So I'm going to copy this text, and then I'm going to go ahead and do what's called an area type tool. Okay, and if I click in the circle here, I click on the path of the circle, it brings this up. So I also have the ability to put this text into shapes. Now, if you're going to make text into shapes, I definitely highly suggest that you use justified for your paragraph. Right, so if I did that, it will kind of conform to the shape. And as you see here, it doesn't really take the whole shape in, but this could be a solution you work with. And it's the same thing with, we can also do like a type on a path. This is going to look kind of silly, but let's say I did a star, okay, and I wanted to use the type on the path tool, and I went to the path and clicked. We could also see that this text will go around. Oh, I didn't, let's see if I can, I have that big space with the word space there, so it's not showing up. So let me do this. I'm going to just select part of this here, come back and copy part of that, and then come back into here and we'll, nope, I messed that up. There we go. Okay. So, so you also have these weird options for text as well. It's really not being nice to me, is it? There we go. Finally. Now, if I make these shapes smaller, it's fine when it's on a path. But just know this, if I make this shape smaller, notice it keeps the text the same size. Or if I rotate this, it will still keep the text in place. So if you ever wanted to do something like rotate the text or change the properties of the text, you're going to have to use the control tools over here, like the rotate tool, so it rotates everything. Otherwise, as you change shapes, the text will always stay at the same on the same axis line. Okay, so again, what you'll do is you'll make 2 more artboards, right? Yeah, because you're going to have 5 solutions, and these are really not acceptable solutions that I had here. Like this one is not an acceptable solution because it doesn't contain all the text. All right, but if you, let's say you did a couple circles or a different few shapes and they were linked, this would be acceptable as long as all the text is included. You can't leave text out. So if you had like multiple stars that all connected and they just grew with all the text and this filled up a texture, that'd be okay. But I really want you to focus on the different alignments and the squares and create more interesting paragraphs, more so than playing with shapes and other things like this. I don't mind 1 or 2 solutions like that, but I don't want all of them to dominate it. Okay, so finally, I have a blank one, and I'm just going to move this over again just to, and then we'll kind of change this. So let's make this one big just so they all look different. So finally, when you go to save the file, export, no, let's see if I can save as a PDF. Let's see what happens. So if I save it as a PDF, I'm going to use all, alignment template. I'll save, and see, let's view the PDF after saving. Okay, so what it's going to do is it's going to create a multi-page PDF. So I'm going to figure out how to print on it, but what you can do is this. It's very simple. What you can do is just make a new file. We'll go new, and we'll say tabloid. So we'll make it a 11 by 17. Width would be 11. Height would be 17. Oops. And this is inches. Really? Why is it doing that? Okay. Weird. And when we do that, now we can go ahead and come back, and what I'd probably suggest is that you give yourself a little square for each artboard, just so you know. So I would do this. I would drop in a shape, the square shape that's the size of the artboard, right, with a outline. So we'll change this to an outline, and now go ahead and select everything, and then come back and just copy and paste And we'll go ahead and move this one up. I don't want to go all the way to the top. I just want to go almost to the top. Okay, and then I'll do that for each one, so I can even move this guy over to here, or just copy, paste. Okay, and then I'll go ahead and take this, take it all. I'll move this here. Okay, something like that, and then I'll drop the other ones in below it. We have to have them somewhat close. So if we have them somewhat close, that will work. Something like this, and then we can go ahead and export this out as a single PDF. Okay.